Good evening. Sorry for the slight delay, guys. I am so sorry. I had, let me just go on this side. I had to quickly reinstall the SU4 stable, and that wasn't as easy as I expected, unfortunately. So it took a few minutes, but I think I have everything now. Yeah, MAN. So keeping fingers crossed. Seriously, keeping fingers crossed. Hello, Mark. How are you doing? Nice to see you. And MAN, hello to you. Yeah, so I had 9.1 gigabyte to get back to stable. I then had to verify the files, and then it actually wanted to download like 50 gigabyte, and I said no, you know. But the sim started, so keeping fingers crossed it will work. Svenja, schön dich zu sehen. Fly with Paul, hello to you. Good evening. I'm doing well. Well, announcement. Okay, so if my brain isn't quite up to date today, isn't up to speed, it's because I'm fasting. Day 2 of my fast. You know, those that have been following my stream regularly know that I fast 2, 3, sometimes 4 times a year, and usually the time before Christmas is the time when I might do a fast. So I try between 5 to 7 days. So usually I wait and see how I feel after 5 days, and if I feel good, I may extend to 7 days, but we'll have to see. First of all, thank you so much to Alpha KL coming in with a 44 months resub. Here's the jingle for that. Thank you so much. Tuxu, hello to you. Lisa, good Abend. Crazy sarcasm, hello. Yeah, so SU4 stable just dropped about half an hour ago. Dankeschön,
It was about time to resubscribe. Greater than hope, all doing well and preparing for the Christmas period.
Yes, we are, and we are busy here. And my wife today, I don't know the timing. My wife baked some Christmas cookies today. Well, she said she's sorry, but she had to do it because there's got lots of family celebrations coming this weekend, so she didn't have any other time. So yeah, so she did. Yeah, torture, Mark. I'm telling you, the smell. Oh, so beautiful. Another thing, I updated NVIDIA drivers as well today, guys. Oh, I'm really asking for trouble today. I'm not going to lie. I am asking for trouble. But we'll see. Who knows? Maybe it works. Maybe it works.
You need to start the engines to request ground services.
Welcome aboard.
So the only panel that's not working
subscriber experience. Could new subscribers please make their way to the first class cabin where complimentary snacks and premium flight entertainment will be served. Thank you.
There was just a reset. Hang on. I just heard another reset message. Where was that? Hold on. Commander Regulus, there he is. Commander Regulus, thank you so much for the 45 months. I appreciate that very much. Let's go cold and dark. Although, hang on, let me just. I want to have my panels working. Let me try that with ground power. Right, and then. Hold on. Settings. Oh, really? Last driver doesn't work with X-Plane. Really? Okay, so let's hope it's just X-Plane issue and not any issues with let me just have a look here. FENIX, that should be FENIX, and this should be A320. I think that's the problem. That should also be A320. Let's see if that works. Man, that's the thing with SimApp Pro. Let me do one more thing. Oh, really? But okay. So again, I'm hoping it is only the X-plane that has issues. Okay, VR streaming software. Okay. Yeah. Now let me have a look. Why? Let me just see why that is not linking up. Right. Yeah. And then of course, somebody already posted it. A question. Yeah. So I'm not sure if everyone knows Mr. Raps, Jurgen Raps. He was a well-known figure here in Germany, you know, being an airline captain for Lufthansa, but also then later becoming chief pilot, and then actually being on the main board. So he had a fantastic career. But even more inspiring thing was that he was such a tremendous character. He was so approachable. He was extremely wise. He knew so much about aviation. He had a fantastic feel for people. He knew how to get in touch with people. He knew how to motivate people. And so the news, sorry guys, I need to restart the sim. That panel's not working. The news hit everyone with a big surprise, because apparently there was a good friend of his who talked to him and on the prior day, and he said everything seemed fine, and absolutely no idea what happened there. So indeed, very sad news. I personally, I can't really say that I knew him well. I mean, of course, he was the chief pilot, but if I talk about the personal level, then I had met him at flight school, because he was the flight school boss back then. When I joined the flight school, I had the fantastic opportunity to fly on a jump seat on a 737-200, which was very fascinating. And that's the moment I actually saw him work as a captain. We of course talked a little bit chit-chat, because we were flight students, right? And we were lucky enough to get a jump seat there. That was 1992, by the way. That's how long ago that was. Then I met him again during my captain's command course. So that's a 1-week theory course, where he showed up on one day and talked about general things about being a captain, about his views, what makes a good captain. And I really listened. That's something that was, again, extremely inspiring. And then in the evening, we all sat together. So we were like 12 people in the group. And he was there as well. And we all sat in a round table, had some drinks and some great talks. Again, very, very, very inspiring moment. And then once I finished my captain's training, I had my captain's license, or the captain's certificate, which is a special certificate you get when you become a captain at Lufthansa. I actually have it here on my shelf. It wasn't signed. So it said Jurgen Raps, and then my my fleet captain said, oh no, he forgot to sign it. Well, I've got to sign it, right? And so he just grabbed me and we went straight to the 5th floor. Actually, no, it was on 6th floor back then, in the office building. I was like, oh my God, you know, we're going in to see Jurgen Raps. And so, yeah, he was very busy. He was, you know, but he still had a few words. So he signed it, apologized for not signing it. And I said, no problem at all, sir, you know, happy to get the opportunity now. And yeah, so, those were these, you know, the really personal connections I had with him. But yeah, of course, I mean, most of you saw the video where, you know, he had one of his last flights, or was it the last flight on the A380 when he got like a golden uniform and he was driving the Harley on over Frankfurt apron, right? I mean, that shows you, right? You do not get allowed to do that unless you have a huge standing, not just at Lufthansa, but at the airport, you know, at air traffic control, etc. So that shows you the figure that he was, right? So indeed, it's a very, very sad occurrence, very sad news, and yeah, my thoughts, prayers to the families and friends. And I saw the very touching tweet made by Sven, so Captain A320. Fantastic words. I mean, he's very good with words, I have to say. So yeah, very touching. I don't think anyone really can add much. I mean, Sven actually had the opportunity to fly with him. He wrote that in the story where he was late for the duty, rushed on board, but you know, Jurgen was so relaxed and you know, made sure, you know, Sven feels welcomed and well, and so indeed, why isn't that showing up, for crying out loud? I don't have the... No, MA, that was Frankfurt apron, I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was Frankfurt apron, right? So Ultras Blue, I don't know, do you know Jurgen Raps? He's a well-known captain at Lufthansa. He was a captain at Lufthansa and also a chief pilot at one point. And so he passed away very suddenly on the 6th. So yeah, why doesn't that? Let's try that. That's what I dislike about Winwing, and the thing is, people always praise Winwing, but the panel doesn't work. That's annoying. Oh, was that in San Francisco then? So that was the last flight, like he was flying from San Francisco to Frankfurt. Okay, maybe then I have a wrong memory there. So everything's working apart from panel with the all right, it doesn't matter, we'll go without that then. It's a shame, but let me see if we can replug it. Guys, give me a second, please. I just need to see, because I really want to get that panel working. Hang on. You are correct. That is weird. So yeah, so restarting SimApp Pro. Now I thought you always had to start those profiles as well. But yeah, now it's working. Fantastic. Thank you so much for the tip. Yeah, that is working. Love it. And cool, Pod. Thanks so much, Pod. You know, update. I made sure I have all the updates that I have done. But yeah, the rest. Right, let me just do one more thing here. Let's see. Okay. Hey Stefke, wie geht's? Break to vacate, so BTV, if a problem with WinWing. I pull, for example, the heading knob in the sim, knob doesn't engage. I don't know, are you using a certain profile or units, kilograms? Okay. That is interesting. Why? Let's re-import. So let's have a look at the load mass imbalance. Hey Luke, good evening. Yeah, so command irregulars. The problem I have is that oh, that's the wrong flight plan. What? Oh no. That is I know why. That is still the profile from Sven. Hang on, let's see if that works now. Voyager, wie geht's dir? And Luke, thank you so much for the 67 months. Incredible. So let's see, that should be mine then. Come on. Yeah, they should be on Discord. Yeah, yeah. There we go. That's my flight plan. Fantastic.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the
Daniel, hello. And Avenger, moin, wie geht's? And Gaby, thank you so much again for the 9 months now. Happy Christmas as well.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Happy Christmas, everyone.
Happy Christmas. So in case you're wondering, so this is the whole setup, right? So I've got my autopilot, I've got the MCU on the left-hand side, throttles, etc., etc. So that's what I'm hoping to try out today. Also, there is a fantastic opportunity today, and we'll go through the briefing in a minute, to try again our theory with the cold temperature correction. So I had, I have someone in my community, Flying Fabian, who's a very, very, very clever, intelligent person, who has made a app for us, or not just for us, but for the community in general, where it has a cold temperature correction calculator. Yes, I have updated FENIX. Yes, I have. Otherfrost Blue. Oh, CTAF, Gillen. Thank you so much. Yeah, you're right. CTAF. Gillen, I appreciate that. So we can try that, right? Later on. and then talk again about some of the theory behind cold temperature correction. Let me post that to you then, hang on. Let me post that here. So it's pinned on the Discord as well. And no, I'm not going to be at the Metallica. I like Metallica, but I'm not going to be at the concert, I'm afraid, no. Good, although let me just do panel settings here real quickly. Let's do turn around with electric power on. One more thing to do, hang on. Need to start Moser app as well. There we go. And that is that as well. Cool. Excellent. Right. Merry Christmas. You guys. Oh dear, oh dear. Alrighty. So, then let's go and go into the... Well, let's do the overhead panel first of all. Let's go overhead panel. Crew supplies on, ground control on. Let's get some integral lights. And also, let me put this to real time, live time, and make sure we have live weather. We do have live weather as well. Fantastic. Now we have our new app here. Thank you so much to Senshai again. Big round of applause for the amazing work that he's doing. And these are still the older airport files. He's still working on the newer layout, but yeah, let's leave that here. Greetings to Wisconsin, Delta Tango. Greetings. How are you doing? Strobes go off because we're going to go on VATSIM now, and then whenever we are on VATSIM, strobes have to be off, otherwise one thing, a call sign is not corrected, is it? Hold on. Where's my BNSIM? BNSIM? Oh, there we go. So that's ASA, and we're called 711. So now the BNA overlay is correct as well. How chilly is it in Wisconsin? What's the temperature down there? Thanks so much, Delta Tango. Well, that's the thing. I'm so happy for anyone that joins my stream, right? And spends time with me here. So that's what makes me smile. You see, so. If you weren't here, I wouldn't be here either. So, all right, let's continue with the overhead panel. Quick jot with the engine APU fire test. Yes, Carsten, I just talked about that. Indeed, rest in peace. Condolences to family and friends. It's -10 in western Wisconsin. That's really cold indeed, yeah. That is cold. Good, let me go into ATSU. AOC menu, flight init. Let's request the data. Hey Ghost, I'm doing well. How are you, Ghost? Nice to see you. Excellent. So we'll do that, and then what I want to do is quickly just get the data in for the boarding, right? So that's that. Then let's have a look. So mass and balance. Then load aircraft, boarding and refueling.
Refueling truck is on its way.
Oh, nice. You're flying to Akureyri. What's the temperature there?
Please don't load aircraft until the fuel truck arrives and ask to do it.
That's weird. Where's that blinking? So I'll give you a quick overview of the briefing package today. It was 2 degrees. Okay, so quick rundown of the briefing. Vancouver to Juneau. Hey, Black Super. Juneau is I'll show you where it is on the map here. So we've taken off Vancouver, and then it's northeast bound. Fairly high terrain. We're going over Houston, but Houston, Alaska, not Houston, or Houston, Canada, not not Houston, Texas. And then we're going to land in Juneau. Hey, Flat Tech Magazine, nice to see you. So the clue is, and that's why I've chosen the routing today. The clue is that flight time is about 2 hours, so we have some time to chat. The alternate is Papa Alpha Kilo Tango, and we need 9.6 tons. That includes about 900 kilograms of extra fuel. And if we look at the weather, Vancouver's calling for severe turbulence. Interesting. And Vancouver right now has 10 miles, light rain, few 2,300, overcast 5,109 degrees. Let me just check that here. Is that correct? Yeah, 9 degrees. And just save that. Hold on. Apologies. I just need. It seems like some of my buttons, not all of them, but some of my buttons have been remapped, which is kind of weird. So load custom camera 5. That's going to be that one. And 7. Nice. Do I miss severe turbulence IRL? Not really. Severe turbulence is not nice. I mean, it's not dangerous, but it's not nice. It's you know, it's not nice for us pilots. It's not nice for the passengers. So Vancouver currently okay. Not much change later. Yeah, I have, haven't I? Yeah, they should be fueling now. Cool. So Juneau. Now this is the interesting part here, guys. -8 degrees Celsius. So remember that, -8. Otherwise, the weather is okay. Low pressure though. So definitely something we have to be careful with. Yeah, Black Super, I know, I have the same. Also, we're going to simulate that the NOTAMs say that the localizer at Juneau is inoperative. So what does that mean? It means if we look at Juneau, we can see that the hang on, where is it? Instrument approaches there. It doesn't have many approaches. Oh, hang on. What's this? Okay, hang on. I have to switch to Navigraph in this case. Where was that? Where do I have a Navigraph option? Sim settings. Anyone know? Oh, right within the charts app. Oh. Thank you. Canon Plug, how are you? Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate that. Right, approaches. So you see, that's a weird thing. So in the Lido charts, it doesn't have the Arnav Victor approach, which is kind of weird. Also, you may notice something I stumbled across this afternoon is it doesn't allow, apparently it doesn't give Charlie and Delta aircraft information regarding minimums, right? But that is only for the Arnav approach, really. So for the localizer, you could do that, but we're simulating the specialities regarding cold weather and non-precision approaches. So that's why we are simulating. We've got a special permission via NOTAM that we are allowed to fly the Arnav GPS Victor runway 08, just in case someone later on notices this, okay? Yeah, probably Ghost, yeah, you're right. So it does have some challenges, right? So first of all, it has a 3.08 degrees profile down, and it's an offset approach as well, right? Yeah, exactly, right. So exactly, so that's why it doesn't show up in the Lilo chart. It only shows Charlie and Delta aircraft, I suppose, right? Yeah, and the very cool thing then later on is, as I've mentioned, that we're going to go ahead and during the flight, we are going to use a tool which has been programmed by one of our dear community members, Flying Fabian. Fantastic work, big round of applause again. This is not for real world flying, okay? This is for simulator use only, okay? But it allows us now to not only program minimum altitudes, but also the flight path angle and the corrected flight path angle. And we'll talk about that later, because that's a topic which is so hard to get your head around. Hey, there he is, Flying Fabian. Nice to see. And a big thank you to, again, I mean, I'm so impressed people just, you know, saying, oh, that sounds interesting. All right, I know how to program something like that, so just go and program it. I mean, and we'll have a look later about the values. But I honestly think it should not be a problem. We are also going to refer to a accident from Air Canada. Mentor Pilot made a video about this, where they did actually use temperature and flight path angle correction on their approach to a very cold. I think it was. Oh, what airport was it again? They're flying from Montreal, but they're flying to. Well, someone here knows. Oh, sorry, it's Green Dot Aviation. You're right. Hey, Ali, Ghost, you're right. It was Green Dot Aviation. My apologies. Yes. That's a very current video that they made, right? Halifax, thank you. So it was Halifax, okay. And they did everything correct in the sense they did their calculations correct. However, they still ended up flying too low. Hey, greetings, Marcos Tulishman. Greetings, hope weather is good. And now the cold weather was one of the factors. There was another contributing factor, which was in the official report. So this is not speculation. The official report stated that the pilots probably were also you know, under the get-aritis issue, right? So the issue of getting to the airport. Hey Sanders, good evening. And oh, I'm missing. Hang on, there's Sanders. Thank you for the 14 months, Sanders. I appreciate that very much on YouTube. Thank you so much for your support. Yeah, so we'll go through the whole topic again. And you may think, well, why bother? Well, believe it or not, Microsoft Flight Sim 2024 actually simulates cold weather effect on the altimeter, which has surprised me as well, but definitely worth going through today, and especially now that we have winter time, right? So let's have a look for the fuel. 9.2. They're still fueling there. Okay, still fueling. Fantastic. And yeah, so that's the flight plan. And let's have a quick look here. Let's check the F8 no ATIS. There's no control here. So departure METAR. Yeah, so it's 2991. I've set that already. Fantastic. Excellent. Right. Fuel. We're planning to board 150 passengers today. Hey, Toto. Toto, long time no see. How are you doing? I hope you enjoy the pre-Christmas or the Christmas season. Yeah, and I couldn't believe it, Toto. So I had to test it. Now the only downside is it does require live weather. It does not work if you set the temperature manually to, let's say, -10 or something. Then it doesn't work. You need live weather. For whatever reason. I don't know. I'm not so into that programming. Hey, Sir Math, good avond. Oh, boy. All right. Let's do some programming. Good. And let's have a look at the cost index here. So we've got OFP cost index 36. Cruise level is going to be 320. It's fairly low. Probably go a higher end route. Ground temperature here is 9. Chopper pause 33,000 feet roundabout. Later on, yeah, it's coming down. So if you look at the... Oh, very important. Since we are flying, we only have RNAV capability for the approach. We have to check the RAIM status. So make sure we have no outages. That's for the destination and alternate for our arrival time. All good. So Toto, we're gonna have to check that in the near future. Yeah, the automatic temperature correction, right? I mean, this is like I think the only add-on, Toto, probably, that has a built-in temperature correction. Yeah, so RAIMS. So RAIMS is called Receiver Autonomous Integrity Monitoring. Receiver Autonomous Integrity Monitoring, right? Because somebody just asked. I honestly I can't remember that all these abbreviations. So all Collins FMS equipped airframes should have it. Okay. Ghost, well, that's aviation for you. I mean, you know. Okay, next we are expecting 59.5 tons of fuel. We leave the zero fuel with GG open, and the block fuel we said with the taxi is round about 9.9, rounded up. The alternate fuel required is 2.2. That's quite high. 2.2. Oh, that's interesting. So the FMS had like 3.2 tons. Hang on. Yeah, it does have what's happening now? Hang on. Why is my joystick not connected anymore? That's connected. I have to reset my joystick here. With such cold temperatures, can you just calibrate it via altimeter input? No. No. It's more complicated than that, Jacob. So what we do is we kind of can correct the effect on the altimeter regarding the indication, so we can kind of scale it differently and manipulate it to actually flying at the correct true height. But regarding the flight path angle, let's say, we can't, right? So and also there is no setting, you know, especially on the mechanical altimeter settings or altimeter settings regarding you know, differential pressure changes. Sure, that's why we set a QNH setting, right, or altimeter setting, so that we can move the scale to the current mean sea level pressure. However, any deviation from standard temperature, you cannot physically change that in the normal altimeters, right? So that's why you have an error, an indication error, simply because you cannot adjust for that mechanically. Now, electronically, like Toto just wrote, obviously you can have calculations, corrections being done internally that then will have not only, well, it would then give you the correct true altitudes. But again, not many aircraft have that installed at the moment, at least not airliners. I've never come across an airliner where that is installed, as a matter of fact. RAIM is super important. If you're relying on GPS prime position and you're maneuvering in tight terrain, you don't want GPS to lock onto a bad signal and shove you into the side of a mountain. Oh, of course not. No, absolutely not. Yeah, we'll talk about all of that during flight because it is super interesting in my opinion. The CAT frequency should be CTAF 18.7. No, like 18.7. Oh, sorry, disregard. That's Juneau. Hang on. That's Juneau. Hold on. Ground charts. Oh, I've not. Hang on. Ground charts. No de-icing required today. Parking positions. So we're going to take this one here and airport info. Right, here we got CTAF. Oh, that's a good question. Hang on. You can find that out by typing .ctaf in the vPilot. Oh, hang on. .ctaf Vancouver. .ctaf 18.7 as well. Yep. 18.7 as well. Excellent. Cool. Good. Boarding's ongoing. Let me go and get the departure. We're doing the Vancouver 3 departure today. Out of 08 left. So then let me program that all in. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and start the APU. Fuel is on board. Fueling completed. So seatbelts go on. And then we'll program the MCDU really quickly. So it's going to be flight plan Vancouver departure 08 left. Vancouver 3 insert radar vectors FASBO, then en route. And for the arrival at Juneau, we're going to have the Victor Arnov 08, and we're approaching via Sierra Romeo. Insert. Then let's have a look here. Plan mode. There's the departure initially. Where's my runway? Yeah, there's the runway. Departure initially, and then en route, high terrain. And then we can go ahead and zoom in. Yeah, there we go. Sierra Romeo, Nimley, and then the approach. But we'll check that later as well during the flight. Good. So total distance, it says 731. And we always check that with the OFP. I have that here, 752. I guess that has to do with the arrival or the departure, some mismatch, but it's within limits. Nothing to worry about. Just heard the boarding is completed, which is great. So let me get that one. Let's do that. That looks alright. And then, yeah, let me get 18.7 set in here as well in a minute. I am connected, yes. Let me see who's here. Oh, there we go. Someone's taxiing out with a 330. We got Condor here. MAN, is that you? So another Alaska and a Condor. So you're the Alaska at the end of the pier there. Okay, you can depart 8 right. Copy that, no problem at all. No problem. Okay, so done that, done that, done that. Then we're gonna go with my flight again. The weather from 17 Zulu. Let's see if we get a newer one. No, still 1700. And yeah, 120 at 11. That's definitely 08 departure. Hey Ali, how are you? So that means we're gonna go and look at the RATNAV. I'm gonna enter that manually in here. Secondary, gonna copy active. If anything goes wrong, we'll do a quick return plan. Charlie, Yankee, Victor, Romeo. New destination. Arrival. Fly the Zulu approach 8 left. No star. No via. And then we'll calculate the performance. So let's go with takeoff performance. Dry runway. Actually, it says light rain, doesn't it? So we'll take wet. Now, since it's only 9 degrees, it's below +10, so we definitely have engine anti-ice calculating as well. Hey, BE. Which one? Which one not recommended? So the 321 is more limited regarding speed brakes. The 321 will actually retract the speed brakes automatically if you go beyond flaps 2. If my memory serves me right. Oh really? Right. I have no idea because like, I'm online. I filed the flight plan, so all should be good. Packs off. Takeoff weight 69.4. That's pretty heavy. What's the landing weight? Estimate landing weight is 63.7. Okay, that's quite a lot. Right, let's calculate. Yeah, Jacob, maybe that's it. Yeah, because the transponder is on. Are we going to take full length? That's always a question that should linger on your mind whenever you calculate takeoff performance. It's a 3,000 meter runway. We could take Mach 6 actually. So let's try intersection data. Okay, so let me add a custom value. Now here, unfortunately, here we have to do that ourselves. So 8 left, Mach 6, we have runway remaining 2386. Okay, so in order to calculate the shift, so what we'll do is we'll take the full length, which is 3030, and then subtract the minus 2386 gives us a shift of 644 meters from Mike 6. So add a custom. I'd call that Mike 6. Oh, actually, disregard. It gives us takeoff run available. Was it 26 something? $2386. That's interesting. 2386. So disregard everything I said. Perfect. Hey, Sammy. Lilo, you're not doing good? Oh, no. Ugh. Sorry to hear that, Lilo. Oh, that's nasty. Go, Sammy. Thank you as well for 64 months. That's a long time. Big round of applause for that. 64 months. Sammy, I hope you're doing well. Yes, happy SU4, and like I said, I am running stable SU4 now, so keeping fingers crossed everything works out. So let me go through that again. Vancouver 8 left. Now I can start again. Should have done that first. Oh. Right, 2386. And Smug Warrior as well. So 8 left, wet. Optimum config, no toga force, engine anti-ice on, packs off, 69.4, 28.7. Live weather. Calculate. Oh my god, MAN? No. No. Oh my god. Before I give you the huge shout out, let me say a big thank you again to Smug Warrior coming into 54 months. Warrior, thank you so much for the 54. That's also a very long time. And waiting for the jingle. Where is it? Okay. There it is. Oh my god. MAN gifting 10 subs yet again. A huge sub bomb from MAN. MAN, thank you very, very much for that. Vielen Dank. So kind. And everyone that just been gifted, please say a big thank you. That would be awesome if you could just say thank you to MAN for that. Really, really kind. Ines, I think MAN, correct. So for the model matching and X-plane, try Iveo. They have good CSL files. And maybe MAN could be so kind to post a link here. Thank you. Yeah, so MA, do you have the link by any chance? That would be really awesome as well. Yeah, it is a CSL, yeah. Cool, so we've checked the values and we've got a flap 2, trim down 0.0, 600 meters shift, and 54 temperature. Engine output change. So I'm going to send that to the MCDU. Now that has populated it. And then we can add our own info. So we have NADP 2, 1020, 1020. Engine out acceleration is in 1600. And the procedure, come on, give it a 0. There it is. And the procedure is just straight out 20 miles to hold. Okay, you downed it, but how do I... And really, also in the X Pilot app, in the sim itself, did you link the files, etc.? Then honestly, I'm not sure how else that could work. Hey, good friend, thanks so much for saying thank you. Yes, and again, I was also very sad to hear the sad news about the passing of Jurgen. And like I said, even though it would be unfair to say that I've known him well. I had you know, three, 4 contact points with him, which were very, very impressive. He was a great leader, great a role model, as I've written, at least for myself, and I know for many people as well. You know, he's really, I think he really kind of forged the way captains are trained up to this day at Lufthansa, and first officers, of course, but yeah, he had a fantastic influence on many people. So definitely very, very sad day, and sad news that he passed away. Right, so we've done that, and we could go to 20 miles. So let me just check. Yeah, straight out 20 miles. Cool. Okay. Good. Then I think I've done everything regarding the checklist. So let me go through a quick briefing here. And that's also been done by MAN. So again, big thank you. And I love how people are helping out in the community. So we have takeoff runway 08 left for departure, and taxi out. Currently we are located, oops, that's the name, on the southern side of this pier, so it's going to be taxi out via Juliet Bravo Juliet, and then we continue to Mike 6, intersection departure. No hotspots there. It'll be the Vancouver 3 departure. Usually you would be given a initial climb. I'll put myself at 5,000 feet initially, and then we'll climb en route. And so 0 at 3 degrees, or as assigned by ATC, and then radar vectors the first fix. Sector altitude is 6,900 to the north because of high terrain there, but wide area would be at least 2,000 safe. That's the highest obstacle there. So extra fuel, we have about, to my calculations, about 25-minute extra fuel for Juneau. And yeah, in case of engine failure after V1, climb out. Make sure we set gear up. Toga selection if necessary. Acceleration 1600. Cleanup. Then we climb at least 4,000 feet, and we'll take the right-hand vectors back to 8 left or 8 right. Both runways long enough. If you do return quickly, then it will be an overweight landing. So what I would advise people to do is to quickly calculate a return runway. Oh, it's raining. Okay. So landing weight will be about 68.5 in that case. 68.5. Auto brake medium. Flap 3 is still okay. So yeah, we can do that even though we have 68.5 tons. So return is possible. Otherwise, for the RTO case, so above above 100 knots we'll board for ATC call, aircraft not controllable, any cautions, warning coming through the inhibition phase. And anything else? Non-standards today? No, everything's working. TechLog says everything's fine. And threats to mitigate. Well, make our calls. Make sure we have CTAF selected. Otherwise, we are good. Right, so let's read the cockpit preparation checklist. Let me get my fuel page here. And here I'm going to select position monitor. So, cockpit preparation, gear pins covers removed, fuel quantity 9,810 kilograms balanced, seatbelts on, ADIRS nav and Barrow ref 2991 selected 3 times. And let's see, cockpit preparation checklist complete. Let's check the doors. Doors are closed. Then let's have a look. Let's do the before start items. No control, so clearance as done. All doors in park, fantastic. That's good. That's good. Transponder 2000 on. Mode Charlie active. And then let's read the before start checklist. Parking brake is on. Takeoff speeds and thrust 127, 139, 142, flex 54.
We're ready for pushback.
Windows doors closed. Let's check here. Closed. Locked. Closed. And the beacon is on, and that's the before start checklist complete.
Departure check completed. Bypass pin inserted.
Microsoft definitely. So the Microsoft store. But I don't think you know, it's better or worse than Steam. Jesus. It's so funny. I mean, this airport is so big. There's so many parking positions. Exactly, right, MAN? But no, they have to spawn exactly. It's like stream snipers, right? Oh, hang on. Oh, you know what? Oh, you are correct. That's so right rudder. Thank you so much for your persistence. Yeah, I was in observer mode. Ja. Hey Dynam, Gude, wie geht's? So, are we allowed to reduce the parking brake? No. So what's happening? GSX. Continue. Quick edit on the map. And then we're gonna go. And how do I change the position? The huh? Hang on. How do I? Right. Hang on. Move left clicks. Ah, there we go. Right click. There we go. And then save, right? Save.
Release parking.
That's really cool. I love that feature. Brakes released.
Commencing push.
Ready for push.
All engines clear. Start at will.
Good. So we are allowed to start the engines. That means what we're going to do is we'll start the engines. So let me check the overhead panel. Fuel pumps are on. we have good pressure. Starting engine 1. I had to right click. Yeah, I had to right click so that it changed the direction.
Features of our Airbus A320 aircraft. Thank you.
This is so funny. So the guy that joined my my stand is now saying, "Bro, what are you doing?" So let's start engine 2.
Set parking brakes.
Recommend that you keep it fast.
Guys, you know what he's writing? Look at my online time, it says. Okay, so one problem could be,
Pull a mask towards you.
I'm not sure because of the
Put the mask over your nose and mouth and breathe normally. Hold the mask.
hey Nate, maybe one I have to say maybe one issue was that I was logged on as observer.
Your own mask before helping.
And then when I switched on the transponder,
Take a life jacket from the seat.
maybe then
Head. Pass the tapes around your waist and click to
Jeez.
life jacket inside the
Right.
aircraft. When outside, inflate.
Let's do the after start flows.
Fails to inflate or needs topping up, blow into this tube. There is a light and whistle
And flaps too.
attracting attention. The cabin crew can assist you with life jackets for children. Your tray table must now be stowed.
And then let's do
Armrest
that.
down, window blinds open, and seatbelt fastened. Further information regarding your safety on board can be found in the in-flight.
Waiting your confirmation for good engine start.
Yeah, I mean, I just put dot aircraft and just ignored his aircraft. I mean, no big deal. Fantastic. Right, so let's do the flight controls. Full up, full down, neutral, full left, full right, neutral, full left, full right, neutral, waiting for the all clear signal. Oh.
Cockpit to ground. We have a good engine start. You can disconnect.
Right, after start. Now it's definitely raining. We have, well, we got plus 10 degrees. But I mean, it's right on the border, so I'm going to switch on the engine anti-ice. And normally you'll see the idle RPM go up a bit. And the reason for that is the engine anti-ice needs bleed air from the compressor of the engine. So that way, if you don't raise the N1 a little bit at low RPMs, then the bleed pressure may not be enough or not hot enough and not strong enough to de-ice the engines.
Tow truck disconnected. Bypass pin removed. Left is clear. Right is clear.
Traffic now is 47, 10 left base, 08 left.
Okay, so waiting for the all clear signal and then we are good to go. There's all clear. Oh, hang on. Vancouver traffic, Alaska 711, taxiing 8 left in Vancouver. Hey, Arsenal aboard, hello. Oh, sorry, Arsenal aboard, hello. Hey, Get Mitchell, nah, all good. Right, let's do a brake check. Brakes are working. Oh, and my tiller isn't working.
Vancouver traffic, Alaska 693 lining up departing runway 085.
Vancouver traffic, RJ 47, 10 mile final, 08 left.
Right, cabin is ready. Let's arm the auto brake. Let's reach down to get the radar. PWS. Oh, there's rain there. So right to Juliet, and then left again. I'm going to go to Mike 6. Anyone know out of their top of their heads? Is there a setting here in the MCDU to use your rudder?
Vancouver traffic, Quack, 100 Alpha, departure runway 13.
Vancouver traffic, Alaska 693 taking off 08 right, Vancouver traffic.
Flagpole, you talked about the SU4 stable regarding
Vancouver traffic, RJ 47, 5 mile final, 08 left.
Okay. So somebody's landing 8 left. Yeah, for the tiller, right? Because or if it's just a setting in the normal Microsoft settings. Right side is clear. Left side is clear. Okay, it is for the stable. But yeah, I don't know. Would you expect different flight behavior feeling now already? I doubt it, because I think the aircraft automakers will have to program that in, right? So takeoff config test is all clear, fantastic. And then let's do a taxi checklist. We have flight controls checked, flap set in config 2. Radar predictive position system on and auto. Engine mode selector is normal. I can see that physically. And we have the ECAM memo, takeoff no blue. And that's our taxi checklist complete. So I can see the landing traffic. Let me just switch on the TCAS. so that I can see traffic on final. Now this guy who's pinging me all the time now, he's departing. He said something like 1.6 or something. Yeah, he should be no factor though. Yeah, let me check if someone is behind me. I'll just quickly stop here and then set the tiller. Nobody there. Alright. So I'm just going to stop here really quickly. Go into settings, controls, and then it should be the tiller general, right? Nope. Still not it. Could be with the SU4 stable now. No idea. Search by input. Oh, it's not registering it for some reason. All right, it doesn't matter. We have pedal steering, so we're good. Okay, that aircraft has landed. Make sure now that should be Mike 6. It is Mike 6.
Vancouver traffic. Go ahead. Tango crossing runway 13 at Lima in Vancouver.
Vancouver traffic. Alaska 711 lining up Mike 6. Runway 8 left in Vancouver, departing to the north.
Traffic count is at 47, clear 08 left, Mike 3, taxi cargo apron, Mike Juliet Hotel, Delta Vancouver.
Okay, just going to add that to 20 miles here. Then nobody on final, as far as I can see. Let's get the...
Vancouver traffic, 121 for Tango clear, runway 13 in Vancouver.
Strobes on. All right, let's do this. Oh, hang on. Let's do this to run here. Very nice. Hey, Pilot 19. Now it's above +3 degrees, so there shouldn't be any fan icing. Takeoff. Manflex 54, SAS runway, auto thrust blue. Oh, and pack should have been off. Like I said, my brain is not 100% working today. 100 knots. V1. Rotate. Pause right. Gear up.
Vancouver traffic, 112 for Tango, lining up and taking off from runway 08 to the right, departure to the north.
Check right and white, yeah, definitely. Not today, though. My brain is not fit enough to do a check flight. Yuck. Horrible day in Hey, Stormy Flyer. Nice to see you. Horrible weather here in Vancouver. Blimey. Thrust, climb, climb. Out blue auto thrust packs are on. Flaps 1. Speed is checked. Flaps 1. Yeah, it's plus 12 degrees. Now, you could theoretically switch off the engine anti-ice. The thing is that we're climbing, and so temperature will get colder. Yes, we are accelerating, but normally the effect of climbing is bigger than the effect of accelerating. So it's no big deal. You don't damage the engine. Here comes flaps up. Speed check, flaps up. If you let the engine just run up to, even 15, 16, 20 degrees. Okay, let's get the autopilot on. Let's go heading. Let's turn left heading north initially. And I'm going to put terrain on the right hand side. There it is. So we have to make sure that we are going to climb up high enough. So I want to clear the 7.5 very quickly. Out star, let's continue climb. Oh, nice. Let's go 10,000. Open climb, thrust climb. I'm going to turn further left. And the Challenger also has automatic anti-ice, which avoids overheating. Nice. GG's. Well, I mean, what can I say? That's Airbus, right? Wow, that's a lot of return. Good. Let's go direct. Fastbow. Insert. Nav to fastbow. And then we go en route. Now what I can do here is I'm just going to dial down the calibration, the gain a bit, so the sensitivity of the antenna. I'm not sure if it works here, but yeah, it does. Right, because otherwise, I mean, it's not untypical. So I've seen this as well with these radar systems where right, got thrust down climb out blue 320, where it will overpaint, right? So if you have these frontal rain systems with lots of rain, lots of moisture, then the echoes will be very strong, and that's why, you know, it will be sometimes a good idea if your experience tells you that, is to just get the calibration, so the sensitivity of the antenna down a bit, and then it makes more sense. Oh, it's not okay. I misunderstood. So the engine anti-ice is not automatic, but if it's on, there's no risk of overheating. Okay, they have thermal switches to prevent overheat. Copy that. We're accelerating, so let's disarm the spoilers. 18,000 is our transition altitude. Let's look at the temperature, +9. So leave the engine anti-ice running for now. And the seat belts. We have, you know, we have on the NOTAM or in the SIGMET we had severe turbulence. So we may as well. Yeah, we may as well just leave the seatbelts on. I just have to reset my. Ugh. Oh man. Honestly, I am just not happy with the software from SimApp Pro. It's a nightmare. So there we go. Let me restart that. Let's see if that works. Oh, it's getting darker as well. Oof. Yeah, it is definitely not the best, right? So I can manipulate the buttons, but it doesn't show up on my hardware. Well, I mean, again, you're going to have to use experience, Jacob. So pilots will have a general good understanding of analyzing weather radar returns. So if you look at these returns over a very wide area, it's usually not a thunderstorm, right? Yes, potentially it could be a squall line, but you would have a warning somewhere, or you would have an information somewhere telling you about the risk of this as well. Man, this is just the risk of having squall lines in the area, right? But if there's no risk, if there's no reports, then you know, it's either ground echoes, which shouldn't happen here in the A320 because it has ground clutter suppression. So it's one of those rare situations with a lot of rain in the atmosphere that will give you these very strong returns. Like, let's set standard set, cross-check. So then in this case, I would just dial down a bit, and depending on the simulator, how well that's simulated. Hey, easy, yeah, it's Sheetwetter, absolute. So right now, you know, with this, I guess, even here, I mean, there's a lot of rain, but you can have procedures to operate in heavy rain situations. So, you know, you would do that procedure. But if it's like a single cell, so very, very round kind of cell, that's the one I would avoid, right? So if that cell has, you know, yellow or red echoes in it, then it's a void for me. But I admit, for flight simmers, it is a bit you know, difficult to judge. I agree on that. Right, let me quickly have a look. Fix info. Let's clear that. And let's clear that as well. RATNAV clear. And then first page, secondary, copy the active. And then, I mean, it's still quiet. But we have a long flight time. Yeah, 260 is still in clouds, yeah, A-firm. I can imagine. So if it's a big frontal system, then yeah. Then definitely. Try to restart Synapse Pro one more time. Hey Mickey, wie geht's? Oh, there we go. Mickey, sorry for the late call. Guten Abend. SU4 right now, no issues. The only issue I'm having is Synapse Pro. It's not syncing up correctly to the sim. Oh, lol. Now it says device has new firmware. Do you want to update? Well, no, because now I've got my display. Ha, now it's working. Don't touch anything. Never touch a running system. Fantastic. Right, disregard. So, in principle, if you use a calculator, so I'm not sure what aircraft you're talking about in particular, but there are a lot of aircraft add-ons these days that have these takeoff and landing performance calculators included. So really, I would go with that, right? Now, yes, there are certain instances, especially with the FENIX, where very often it will give you a flap config 3 takeoff. Now, to my understanding, that is more coming from the British Airways procedures, because their philosophy is to lift off sooner, to save wear on the tires. But the problem is that if you do that, then you just have to realize that your climb performance, especially if you have an engine failure after V1, your climb performance is going to suffer. Right? But you know, they've deemed that to be the best for them. You know, I respect that. Who am I to criticize that, right? What was the app called again? That was called the app for my iPad. Screen something. I'm trying to remember what the app was called. It's not Mirror. We'll get there. We're going to get there. Okay. So in principle, like I said, so if you use, let's say you have three options, right? Flaps 1, flaps 2, flaps 3, for a given weight and a different, a given runway and a given environmental condition. You're going to have with flaps 1 the longest takeoff roll. But once you lift it off, gears coming up, you have less resistance, right? In case you have an engine failure. So that's a better climb out case. Flaps 2, you will lift off a little bit sooner than with flaps 1, right? And the climb out will be a bit worse than flaps 1 though. Then you have flaps 3, you lift off a lot earlier than flaps 1, but then the climb out angle is going to be a lot less because of that increased drag you have with flaps 3 compared to flaps 1, right? So usually for me, flaps 3 would only be used if you have a short runway where you have obstacles very close to the runway. So at the end of the runway, close in obstacles that you have to overfly. So that means you have to lift off early to make sure you have the screen height to get over those obstacles. So to make the answer short, personally, unless, like I said, you have a very short runway and you know those conditions that speak for config 3 departure, just use config 1 or config 2, whatever the app is giving you. That's the simple answer. We're still in clouds, 29,000 feet. How come? I mean, like, what's happening? Right, sorry, I'm missing some questions. Hey, Tom, how are you? Yeah, Tom, that was you landing. Nice. GG's. Yeah, the weather was definitely a bit dodgy. No, so 1 plus F. The logic prevents 1 plus F in the air if the calibrated airspeed is higher than 100 knots. Right, so it's a simple logic. So during flight, they determined that there's no need for 1 plus F. They just need flaps 1. Right. So it's just a slats out. Oh really, MAN, you're still in clouds level 330. Okay, well then with flaps flat level 320, I'll be in clouds as well for sure. Now I'm gonna find my app. I need to find what that was called. Airplay. Now I've got it. Oh, Airplay. Airplay. So much easier when you're able to draw. So add some context to it. All right. So 320. So really quickly, So let me draw a quick runway here. Right, so here's your runway. And you're taking off, right? So if flaps 1 will take off later, but climb out fairly well. Let me, yeah, sorry, that's actually quite good. Let's keep that. So that's actually quite a steep climb out, right? Then you have flaps 2. You lift off a little bit sooner than flaps 1, however, you're going to climb out a little bit less. And then you have flaps 3. You lift off very soon, but your climb out angle is going to be very shallow, right? Exaggerated. But that's in principle the thing with config 1, config 2, and config 3, right? So again, the only real reason you want to have a config 3 is if you have an obstacle, you know, located very close to the runway, right? Because then potentially, so the other two cases there are a bit drawn off guard there, so, but obviously you won't climb up that steeply. So let me redo that a bit. Right, so you know you can lift off that soon, right? So in principle, you know, you're going to lift off fairly late, and then there's a potential that you're going to crash into that that obstacle. Same with flaps 2. Maybe flaps 2 will just barely manage, and then you have flaps 3, where you can actually climb over that, right? Does that make sense? Something like that. There's a furry red mountain here. Right, let me see. Connor. Oh no. Yeah, I've got 140 knot crosswinds. Blimey. So we can switch off the engine at TIS. It's definitely colder than minus 40. It's minus 48 degrees. We have still the landing lights off. That goes off, obviously. Seatbelts can go off now. Service.
Hello.
Hey Lee, guten Abend, wie geht's dir? Okay, Captain Mitchell, you saw a 346 departing flaps 3, yeah. Could be. Yeah. What you mean? Why are you laughing, Captain Mitchell? It's freestyle. I'm using an iPad with an iPad pencil, right? I mean, you know, give me credit for that. So there we go. Now let me check the optimum level here. So optimum is 350 and max is 380. Shall we try 360 to see if we... Oh yeah, maybe we can, right? Let's do that. So we got thrust climb out blue 360, and now we got 360 in the cruise page as well. And also let me have a look here. So you see, forgetting some stuff here today. Do you lend? Maybe, but I mean, if it's that much crosswind, do you know, is it changing to headwind component later on? I mean, later on we can descend again if necessary. Let me have a look here. Oh, that's the reason. That's a jet stream there, you see? So the wind will actually dial down a bit later on. The axis is in 330. So, yeah, moderate turbulence up to 400, so... Yeah, and then the wind... Yeah, it'll stay crosswind. So that there's no real... I don't think that's an argument to stay low.
traffic, flare 820 pushing back from gate 23, tail south, expecting right range.
27-degree crab angle, yeah. Crazy stuff. Crazy, crazy stuff. No doubt. Right, it looks like, though, we are getting out of clouds, at least. Who knows? Maybe. Yeah, so the X-ray and X-ray Zulu approaches, there isn't per se a certain difference. So you cannot say, let's say, the difference between Alice Yankee, Alice Zulu is the glide slope angle. That's different. No, it's just a note to the pilots that there are differences between these approaches, and unfortunately, you have to find out yourself what those differences are. So there could be missed approach procedure, could be different. It could be the descent angle that could be different. Frankfurt Airport, for example. It could be the initial approach that could be different. So, and that's why you have to just make sure. So ATC will assign you normally a certain approach. So if you go back to my last stream in landing in Bogota, we planned initially for an ILS approach Zulu. Here's Alt Star. But then we got the Yankee approach, right? So, and I think there was a missed approach that was a bit different.
Hello, Black Box.
Hey, Brendelt, good event. So how am I looking on time? An hour? Huh? I'm expediting, Brendelt, okay? Yeah, the thing was, I didn't really spend too much time on the ground, Brendelt. The problem was, have you updated SU4? So make sure you run the update. For the group flight. Marcos, thanks so much. But honestly, Marcos, I always see myself just being a normal human being. I mean, yeah, we all have, professions, and I admire people that are able to create things with their hands, like, craftsmen, right? How they can build a table or, furniture, as an example, or maybe play the guitar. I can't do that. I admire those people that are, skilled at doing that. So, Stick Figure, hello to you. Oh yeah, gonna see some scenery here. Look at that, nice, beautiful, clearing up a bit. Welsh pilot, honestly, I don't think that's realistic. I know what you mean with the climb, descent wind, and then again the cruise winds. It may be a similar thing here. I don't know. In a real aircraft, you just do one uplink in the A320, that is, and it'll load everything. Need to look up something real quickly. Ah, beautiful scenery. Still waiting for the Anno 117 stream. Cat Mitchell, I don't know. I don't have time for that. I have time for that. Yeah, Brennelt, if you can, start Microsoft 2024, it will tell you that you need to update. That's the thing.
Vancouver traffic, Flare 820 crossing runway 13 and 31 at.
How's the fuel temperature? Let me check. Fuel. So fuel, 0 at the moment. I mean, we just departed, Brenold, because in Vancouver it had like +9 or +10 degrees. So yeah, it's going to take a time. It's time to cool down now. No, so chain reactor. Oh, hang on. I would just say there is no F in retirement. Now I get it. Oh dear. Yeah. So. Yeah, you know, things are busy regarding, flight simming, and then the cooking streams. So the cooking streams are having to be set up, and so yeah, I'm definitely busy, definitely very busy at the moment.
Traffic, Flare 820 via Lima 6 Onyx 19.
Brenold, no, we're still setting things up, but so this week we originally planned to do the first cooking stream this week. However, I'm fasting, so it will be a nightmare for me to do cooking while I'm fasting. So if everything goes well, next week we'll be doing the cooking streams. Oh yeah, nice view here. Look at that. Captain Mitchell, man, you know what I'm worried about? I'm worried about dropping a knife onto my wife's foot or something. That's what I'm worried about, seriously. Yeah. Trust me, it is no joke, I have dropped a knife, a bread knife or something, or cutting knife. I don't know how many times, but many times, and I was really lucky. You have to realize, one of the urges, the instincts you have, is to catch something. Now, true story, a good friend of mine, who was also a real world pilot, he became, he lost his medical license, not because of this incident, but because of something else later on. But just as he started out as a first officer, he dropped a big cutting knife, a very sharp knife. So he's cutting, he actually dropped it, and with his left hand, he grabbed to catch it. And he cut, sorry for, I'm not trying to make it not too graphic, he cut 3 of his fingers, so that the muscles were cut. So yeah, and also some nerves were damaged. So it took ages to heal up again. Luckily, it did heal up again, so he was able to fly again. Yeah, that's one of the things I'm worried about. And then the other one is, if you drop a knife and it falls, blade first down, you've got to make sure you get your foot out of the way. Well, the saying goes, never try to catch a falling knife, right? But that usually is said in terms of, share prices, right? So I've never heard anything. apart from that. Go Sammy, no joke. Isn't the place where most accidents happen in the kitchen? You see why I'm worried? So, I am a disaster waiting to happen in the kitchen, honestly. Aviamar, thank you so much, 7 months. I'm doing well, Aviamar, hope you too. Thank you so much for the 7 months. And oh, that's a tier 3, good God. Wow. Tier 3, very generous, Aviamar. Thank you so much for the tier 3, 7 months. Big thank you. Oh really, Brennel? You caught a falling soldering iron, which was at 2 to 50 degrees. Ouch. Yeah, I can imagine that's also very painful. Let me go so quickly. Right, now we're going to get into the topic of cold temperature correction. First of all, though, let me have a look here. 11.5, 11.5, 9.4, and then yeah. So initially, if anything goes wrong right now, I'm going to go level off at 14,000 latest to stay clear of the terrain. Well, let's make it 15,000. It's cold today, so 15,000, and then we are going to go westbound if anything goes wrong to the coast over water. It's more likely to get sucked into by a vacuum cleaner than by an aircraft engineer. Probably. Oh really? Cap Mitchell, you burnt your hand on top of the oven a couple of months ago and still hasn't finished healing. Yeah, cooking is scary. That's... I'm just saying, I've got to really be, you know, on the edge when I'm in the kitchen. So yeah, I am somewhat worried. Cool. Guys, let's talk about today's topic. Let's talk about this topic here, cold temperature corrections. So I'm not going to bore you with the whole physics of it, okay? So, but you can imagine, and you've heard maybe sometime in your school life, you know, in physics regarding hot temperature, cold temperature, density getting bigger in low temperature and less in high temperature. No, that doesn't make sense. What am I saying? No, it should be the other way around, right? Higher temperature is denser, disregard, and lower temperature it's less dense. Atmosphere and so on, right? However, the problem is that pressure levels, right? So as it gets colder, think of it this way, they move together. And if Toto's listening, he can chime in if I'm getting something wrong. So an altimeter is a very basic instrument, right, that measures air pressure, obviously, right? So let's say you have these levels, millibars, whatever, right? So I don't care about the exact numbers, all right? So let's say that's 995, that's 1,000. Oh, it's the other way around. Hang on, disregard, other way around. So let's say that's 1,005. Right, and that's 995 hectopascals. Right. So as you go up, the pressure will drop. Right, and so the instrument, our altimeter, is just flying along a certain pressure level. Right. So the pressure level you can adjust. So whenever you have a high pressure or low pressure, right? So this band moves up or down. And you're always referencing, let's say, to sea level. Then you can change your altimeter setting. Right? So this thing here. To adjust these pressure levels for the altimeter. So the altimeter then theoretically can fly at the correct altitudes. So let's say, so this is the ground, okay? So let's say this is, so 1 hectopascal is 30 feet, correct? So that's maybe not enough pressure difference, but still, I mean, it serves a purpose, right? So, I mean, that's only 150 feet each, right? Between. But yeah, so again, we're flying a certain pressure level, right? So a certain pressure correlates to a certain altitude. And as we said, if the pressure changes at sea level, if the pressure changes, we can change the setting on the altimeter to adapt for those changes in those pressure levels. The problem is, though, that we cannot change unless you have a system like in the Hot Start Challenger 650. So in the 650, it has an automatic correction for that. But most aircraft don't. So they suffer when you have cold temperature. Now we know that ESA is 15 degrees Celsius on the ground, sea level, right? And then it will get colder normally in a normal adiabatic way of 2 degrees C. So it goes down 2 degrees Celsius per 1,000 foot altitude, right? So at 10,000 feet above sea level, it'll be 20 degrees colder as it is at sea level in a standard atmosphere. The problem now comes if you have large deviation from the norm, right? So let's say, like today, if you look at Juneau airport, so Juneau airport, lovely clouds by the way, is pretty much sea level. So it has 25 feet only, right? And that's cool for today's calculations. However, if we look at the current temperature at Juneau, and that's why I chose this flight today. Arrival. Let's receive the. There we go. So Juneau has currently minus 8 degrees Celsius at the airport. All right. So that means current temperature is minus 8 degrees C. So we have a delta of minus 23 degrees Celsius. Right? That's a lot colder. A lot colder. So now what happens is that our pressure levels will get condensed. Right? And because of that condensing of those pressure levels, our altimeter normally has no function, has no possibility to correct for that. So that means we pilots, we have to do the corrections for that. Because if we do not correct, what happens is that, so let's say here we've got the ground, And we're flying an approach, which today I think starts at about 2,700 feet or something, right? And then we will have a descent point and descend at 3 degrees down to the runway, okay? So if we don't correct for the cold temperature today, like we said, we have minus 23 degrees Celsius, and there's a rule of thumb where every 10 degrees delta is approximately 4% altitude height. We always talk about height now, okay? So the height above the... No, I've never flown in Alaska, no. Yeah. So now we have to correct manually ourselves, and according to that equation, if I take my calculator now, if I say so 2.3 times 4. So the total correction is about 9.2%. Right, we love simple numbers, so let's say 10%. Okay. So 10% error in the altimeter indication means that if our altimeter in the aircraft actually shows 2,700 feet, so let's say we get cleared down, descend 2,700 feet, we descend down to that altitude, and we're happy, right? Because we're flying exactly the cleared altitude. Our indication altimeter shows 2,700 feet. All good, right? No. Because our true altitude is a lot lower. Right? It's about 10% lower. So roughly, let's say, 270 feet lower. Right? So is that already potentially dangerous? Well, no. Normally you have certain margins for clearance, right? So any obstacles that are below you, you will have normally at least 1,000 feet clearance on that. However, that changes when we start our approach to the airport. So if you're flying especially like today, a non-precision approach like this one, then there are rules and regulations which give you certain obstacle clearances within the flight path, i.e. let's say 0.3 miles left and right of centerline for the RNP approach. Then it can go down to, I think the lowest was like 74 feet or something. So in other words, if you don't potentially correct altitudes, you may actually then get very close to terrain. Again, I'm not saying you're going to hit terrain, right? So let's say you're on the initial approach here somewhere. The problem could be, though, that your radio altimeter, so your GPWS system, the reactive GPWS system, measures closure rates to the terrain according to your radio altimeter. So if you're flying 300 feet lower, then potentially what could happen is that the GPWS could trigger. So you could then be forced into a very steep climb maneuver, which is something you don't want to do unless you are in real danger, right? Because that is a aerodynamic, very stressful maneuver for the aircraft and for the crew. So you want to avoid these issues, right? Another problem then is, if you look at the airport of Halifax, let me just clear that. Now, let me go to Navigate here, because now I'm referring to that. Yeah, exactly. So physically speaking, the a lower temperature means the volume of air gets less, right? So the pressure decreases. Let's find Halifax real quickly, because there was an incident with an Air Canada flight. It was just covered by Green Dot Aviation on YouTube. And they explained that very well. That's according to an official approach. Now, I don't remember exactly, guys. Was it the RMP 02 or 20? Are you sure it was Halifax, guys? Hey, L Aviation. I don't know. I have a feeling they had, because they had a localized approach as well. Let me find that. Oh, it must be 05 then. Yeah, so it's 05. So, yeah, it was Halifax. Thanks. So they were supposed to fly the localized approach 05, but the problem was that day the localizer wasn't working. Oh, hang on. What was it? No, other way around. I think the localizer was working. It wasn't an issue with the localizer. It was just the fact that usually they would fly the ILS-14 or the ILS-23. But because of the wind, they couldn't fly that approach. So they couldn't fly a normal ILS approach. So they opted then for the localizer 05 approach. Problem was visibility was very bad. Ceiling was very low. Hey, Caleb. So, yeah, I mean exactly that, yeah. So they flew the localizer approach. Now, what they did do is that they did correct for the low temperature. So they applied correction for the altitude, but also the flight path angle. Right? You see, it has a flight path angle of 3 degrees. The problem is, though, according to their procedures back then, so the company procedures, it said you have to apply the cold weather corrections. However, the crews were not obligated to check the crossing altitudes. So you have a certain distance from the DME, or the runway DME, right? And it gives you a crossing altitude, right? So what they should have done, or what would have been better to do, is to correct these altitudes as well. Or maybe not all of them, but some major ones like 11, 9, 7. And then as you descend on a flight path angle, you would cross-check these corrected altitudes with your altimeter. And that way, you could then see deviations from the path, right? However, again, the company procedures didn't ask them to do so, and they weren't trained for it. So all they did is that they started the descent at a certain point with the corrected altitude and the corrected flight path angle. However, the flight path angle, they calculated at 3.5 degrees, which to their tables was correct. However, it was, if you do a normal calculation with a calculator, it should have been more like 3.35 or 3.4 degrees. So that path was already a bit steeper that they corrected. And then they may have had some wind disturbances where, or maybe they descended just a tad early, so they were low on the profile. Yeah. So as they broke out of the clouds in pretty bad visibility, they then had the PAPI lights, which they couldn't see the PAPI lights, and it was difficult for them to judge their altitude because of that bad visibility. So they called out runway in sight and they continued. Right? Now, at some point, and unfortunately way too late, they realized they were way too low, and they tried to go around, but it was too late, and they struck a power line, I think, and some buildings, and that way, I think their engine was damaged, landing gear was damaged, and so then they crashed onto the runway. Now, luckily, I think everyone survived, right? There were some injuries, but I think everybody survived. Yeah, and then they did a full analysis, obviously, and they came to the conclusion that mainly the issue was the fact that they descended too steeply, and they had no means of cross-checking crossing altitudes because the SOPs didn't require them to do so. And then in the end, when they came out of the clouds, they didn't really have all the required visual references they were supposed to have. And then, you know, they really should have gone around. But then it was like, you know, because of the thing with fuel diversion, they were kind of too focused on the objective, meaning landing. And so that bias towards, you know, reaching your goal, there was another contributing factor. And that's why they then had this accident. Now, of course, they changed the procedures, and that's why you would have to also check for these crossing altitudes. So there's certain things you would calculate and correct. The problem is, though, IRL, it's difficult to find online, tools for that. You will find tables. I found many tables. So, for example, even on the approach chart here, it gives you a correction table there. You see? So you could look at the reported temperature and then height above the airport in feet, and it will then tell you how much feet you have to correct. So as an example, let's say we do the first one at 3,400 feet. That's pretty much 3,400 feet height, right? We have an airport temperature of around about minus 10 degrees. So we have to extrapolate, and then that's about 350 feet to correct. It's a very crude method, but I mean, it's accurate enough. And so that way, you can then correct your temperatures, and then you will add these factors onto your, let's say, 3,700 feet, and 3,400 feet. You add, let's say, 350 feet, round up 400, so you would fly 3,800 feet there. So the altimeter shows 3,800 feet. However, as it's cold, everything's compressed, right? Your true altitude will be more like 3,400 feet. Right. And it says here also in the notes, quite interesting, on the approach chart here, it says cold temperature altitude correction required at or below 1 degree Celsius. Right? So here they actually write to you that these corrections are required if the temperature is at or below 1 degree Celsius. So for today, -8, yes, we have to do those corrections. Right. Well, Pilot 2, again, I was a bit surprised as well when I heard that Air Canada back then didn't have that as a standard procedure. Because I've always been trained to do so, cross-check altitudes and non-precision approaches, right? But yeah, they weren't. Now, you will now see that here for the R&P approach, there is no table. There is no cross-check table, right? So, what now? Well, now we read the text and search if there's any reference to the lowest temperature that we're allowed to fly this. And I don't see anything here. Let's see. So circling and authorized at night. The guidance system not precision authorized at night. Use Juneau altimeter readings if not received. Precision authorized is at the 1 runway 8 helicopter reduction. Okay. Okay, so we don't have any reference there. So was there anything referenced in the cold temperature correction table? That's weird. Normally, you know, I've shown you that so many times. So normally you have that reference on the approach charts. And a bit gutted that we don't see that here. Yeah, no, I know. It says you have to do the correction. No, it's normally you would have a statement down to what temperature you're allowed to use that approach. I'll show you. Let's see if I can find approach here in Vancouver. So you see what I mean. So let's take the Zulu. You see here. So for uncompensated Baro VNAV systems, so let's say you're flying the Challenger 650, let's say, LNAV, VNAV not authorized below minus 18 degrees Celsius. Right. So that means you can only use the LNAV minimum to make sure you have your clearance limits, or the opposite clearances covered. Now let me find that. I'm so sure it will say that somewhere. Nothing there. Airport. Nothing there. Airport infos. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just Navigraph. No, here, so what it says here under note 4, it says code temperature altitude correction required at or below at 1 degree Celsius. So we have to do those corrections when temperature is 1 degree or below. That's what the text says here. But what I'm looking for is for the non-corrected Baro systems, what the lowest temperature is you're allowed to fly the GPS approach. And normally we would see that. Let me go have a look at the Jefferson charts. Let's see if we find something there. Yeah, but that's for the LDA approach. So here we have these. It could be. You're right. Maybe that's the reason. Yeah, maybe it's because you only have an LNAV minimum. There's no. You can't fly this vertically managed anyways. Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. Yeah. Yeah, you're correct. It only has an LNAV minimum. You're right. Yeah, I think that's the reason as well. Yeah, correct. Okay, now the thing is that normally you have a minimum temperature until where you can fly the approach with vertical guidance, right? And also here you see that from Many to Mulrow, there is no information regarding how high you should be at each mile from inbound. There's no cross-reference, right? So here it's simply the same thing. You correct for your altitude, you correct for your flight path angle, then you fly your corrected flight path angle, so you're allowed to fly nav, but you have to have a selected vertical mode. So either vertical speed or flight path angle. Now, of course, you would always prefer flight path angle, because otherwise, if you're only using vertical speed, you would have to calculate your flight path angle from that, which is difficult to do, right? So, then let's do that for an exercise. Then let me do this, and then let me get my, or not mine, but the calculator that our friend Flying Fabian has made for us. So we're going to enter these values now, and this is something. So this calculator is something we would have integrated in our EFB, at least at my company that I work for. So let's just populate these areas now, these fields, and see what we get. So elevation, is only 25 feet. Touchdown zone elevation. The ground temperature is minus 8 degrees Celsius. Eastern deviation, minus 23 degrees. As we've seen, right? So initial approach fix. Ogeme, 3,400 feet. Final approach fix, final ascent point, is many at 2,700 feet. Decision altitude, minimum descent altitude is, well, that's really high. Lol. Okay, that's another reason why there's no tables. Because you only descend 300 feet. Doesn't make sense. Now it all comes together. Yeah, so... Okay, but just... let's do something just for practice. Okay, let's say we have a minimum of 600 feet. Okay, so let's say our decision altitude is 600 feet. Okay. And the flight path angle is 3.08. And look at that. It gives you those values corrected in real time. Fantastic. Now go around altitude. We're going to climb to 9,000 feet. So Fabian, fantastic calculator. Absolutely fantastic. And then you can even do the climb gradient. Let's say 2.5%. That's a corrected gradient. Really, really cool. Big round of applause again. Absolutely incredible app. Absolutely. So by rule of thumb, like I said, 10% adds up, doesn't it? 10%, 10%, and 10%. So that's pretty much what you have corrected. So what does it mean practically now for us? That means we're going to descend only down to 3,700 feet before we cross Ogeme. Then we're going to fly 3,000 feet. I know it's a bit more than actually would be required, because we can't really fly 2,950 in the Airbus. So we can fly 2,900, or we can fly 3,000 feet, right? So we'll do that, and then we're going to fly a corrected flight path angle of 3.3 degrees to the minimums. Now the minimums again is very low, it's very high, 2,340 feet. So that means from that point onwards we have to go visually anyways, right? Jacob, we covered that at the beginning of the stream. We're simulating the localizer being off the air, and so today we have a special permission as a Category Charlie aircraft to fly this this RMP approach. But yes, IRL, you can't fly the approach with a Category C aircraft. That's correct. Oh, in Zeno you checked? Fantastic. So it's very similar to your Lido app. Fantastic. Thanks for checking, Enzino. Appreciate that. Okay, so now comes the question, and this is something, man, I have those difficulties as well, getting my head around that. So why do we have to correct the flight path angle, even though we are correcting our approach altitude? Right. So shouldn't be so. If we're flying corrected, we are flying at the corrected height for the approach as it's charted, right? So if we did not correct for cold temperature, we would be flying a lot lower. Correct? Now, the thing is that's how I understand it. The instruments, so altimeter and vertical speed indicator, they work, hey Bruno, they work by using pressure changes or pressure, right? So if the atmosphere is not standard, meaning the pressure level distance is smaller because of the cold temperature, then as you descend, your altimeter, your sensors will say you're descending too fast. right? So the real descent rate would be lower in colder temperature, and hence that's why you still have to adapt to a steeper flight path angle for the autopilot or for the flight path angle indication, right? Because it is in the same percentage terms subjected to those wrong measurements, right? And so that's why you have a corrected altitude, and then you correct the flight path angle, which is then steeper as normal, right? But realistically, you are then flying the correct flight path angle. That's how I kind of try to get my head around that. So if anybody has a different explanation, please let me know, because man, it is not easy to comprehend sometimes. Okay, yeah, I mean, it is in. I checked at the beginning before we took off. And so, yeah, the approach is in.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Captain Blackwell.
Yeah, so you did reference, so Fabian, correct, you did reference, you said change indications in cockpit after correction, right? And again, Fabian, thanks for the feedback. Hey, also, thanks for 6 months. Also 2K, much appreciated. I hope you're doing well. Nice to see you. And now, for me as a pilot, so here's the thing, right? So I'm not a physicist. I'm not, I haven't studied physics. I'm just a pilot. Okay. So if I'm trained to, do those temperature corrections, and then also do the flight path angle correction, and then fly according to what I've calculated, that's what I'll do, right? And I don't ask other questions, right? Because I know that's correct, right? They're teaching us that because that has been, proven to be right, time and time again, okay? But of course, if you are obviously, interested in the more physical background behind that, then yeah, for sure, right? It's a good idea to get your head around those things. Okay, yeah, so the scale down here is pressure, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so as you descend, pressure increases. Lower, you get lower down altitude, pressure increases. But that's because of the, so the scale, I guess the scale will then not be, or is that scale linear at the bottom? Yeah, Delta Tango. Simply speaking, yes. Yeah, linear pressure scale. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay. I guess if you adjusted the scale here for the cold temperature world and how the atmosphere behaves, then of course, this would not be angled, I guess. Cool. Alrighty. Oh yeah, and one more thing. The reason why you do not, the reason why if you have an LNAV VNAV minimum, yeah, it all makes sense. Of course, I mean, like I say about brain today, it's like working only 50%. For those that just joined, I'm fasting, so that's why my brain is not 100% level it should be. And that's why IRL, I would never fly when fasting, and it's not allowed even to do so. But if you go back to the approach chart in Vancouver, right? Let me find a correct approach here. There we have it. So here for this approach, for example, right? RNAV approach 26 left. We have an LPV minimum. It doesn't apply to the Airbus aircraft, but we could do the LNAV VNAV minimum or the LNAV minimum. So the LNAV VNAV minimum means you are using managed lateral and managed vertical guidance. So the guidance that's given to you by your FMS, so the flight management guidance system. Okay. So if you do that, then there is a certain temperature limit at which below that limit you're not allowed to use the LNAV VNAV minimum, i.e. you're not allowed to use managed vertical descent. So in this case, let's say we have minus 15 degrees Celsius, okay? And we would fly this approach in LNAV VNAV. And we use the LNAV VNAV minimum, so low minimum. If we, and we're not allowed to correct the altitudes in the FMS, okay? So that limit is there to assure that as you are flying uncorrected for the low temperature, you're still going to be clear of obstacles, right? So once it gets below that limiting temperature, then if you flew according to FMS with the vertical profile, then potentially you could be so low that then you could have an issue with obstacles. Right? And that's why, if the temperature is below that, without compensated bar enough system, you then have a higher, well, you normally, okay, there's no obstacles there, okay, that's why. But normally you'd have a higher LNAV minimum. And simply because, again, only until that point, your obstacle clearance is assured, and then from the minimum onwards, you have to follow the rest visually. So you have to look outside, make out any obstacles, look at your position according to the runway, and then land visually, right? That's the difference. But again, today, not the problem. So today, although let me do the following. If you go, let's pretend, okay, let's pretend we have Vancouver, the RMP. Let's try this one here. Yeah, there we go. So with our calculator now, you see what you can do. You have additional altitudes you can put in. So let's pretend again. Let's say we have the same temperature at Vancouver, right? So 25 feet, almost the same, identical. We would have 3,000 feet, right? But then you would calculate the corrected altitudes there, so the crossing altitudes. So at 10 miles, let's say, it's 3,250. At, let's do 8 miles, 2,620. Then let's do 6 miles, 1980. And then 4 miles at 1340, okay? So then as you fly the approach, uncorrected for cold temperature, on your vertical path, your crossing altitude, like in this case here at 8 miles, should be 2,620 feet. And that's always referring to mean sea level, okay? So that's what your altimeter should be indicating if you're right on the 3-degree profile, so on the correct path here, at that 8-mile distance. Now we just talked about the fact that because of the cold temperature issue with the altimeter, the false readout it's giving you, what's happening then, your altimeter will be showing 2,848 feet, right? So all you do then is you check 8 miles with your altimeter readout, and if your altimeter readout actually shows 2,800, let's say 50 feet, then you know your true altitude is 2,620 feet. So you are on the correct path. Right. I know it sounds all complicated, but that's just the thing. That's the thing pilots have to do when flying these approaches, right? And again, in the Halifax accident, if the crew had cross-checked those altitudes, they would have then maybe realized that they were like 100 feet low and getting lower. as they continue the approach. Yeah, the same brain is multiple voyager. Yeah, maybe I'm not good at explaining it all in all, but yeah, that's just a practical view of how you would have to fly these approaches, right? Good. So to recap, today we're going to fly at 3,700 feet Ogeme. We're going to fly 3,000 feet Mini, descend out of 3,000 at 3.3 degrees down, flight path angle, so LNAV, flight path angle on the autopilot system. And we simulate a descent down to 600 feet, okay? We'll pick up the PAPI lights hopefully at some point, and then maneuver past Molre. We'll maneuver visually for the runway. And again, the cool thing is that we're going to have a radio altimeter readout, right? So you will see the difference between the altimeter and the radio altimeter. So as an example, if I type in, or if I take this value here, so when the radio altimeter calls out 2,000 feet, our actual indication on the altimeter should be, on the normal barrel altimeter, should be 2,150 feet. If Microsoft simulates this correctly, okay? Yes, Jacob, RF approaches are definitely favored these days. I mean, it doesn't mean that we don't practice, you know, raw data approaches or the other approaches with selected modes, but that's just what it is. Oh yeah, another interesting fact on the A320. Now, I'm not sure about A380, A350. Just talk about A320. You are not allowed to change crossing altitudes past the final approach fix. Okay, so the moment that you have a indication there for a flight path angle down, you are not allowed to change altitudes in there. Interesting fact, on the 787, at least at my company, we were allowed to do so. So we could take these corrected altitudes and put them into the box and have a correct flight path down. And then be able to use vertical guidance. Hey, Iowa Scotsman. But here it's not. Here you're not allowed to do so. So all we're going to do now is we are going to check the approach. Yes, exactly. I mean, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, we have to fly with flight path angle. And you see that already, it only has an LNAV minimum. Yeah, 3.3 is what the calculator gave us, yeah. No, physically, Jacob, you can change it physically, but Airbus says you're not allowed to, because it will then mess up the calculations for the path. Yes, okay, Bruno, exactly. So if you're using FLS, and that's one of the big advantages of the FMS landing system, then that is temperature corrected, yes. But this standard approach here, the normal RNP approach, RNF approach, is not corrected. Hey, equilibrium, yes, indeed, yeah. Yeah, JR, rest in peace, yeah. We talked about it at the beginning, equilibrium. Yeah. Very sad news indeed, yeah. So, now it would be allowed to change this to 3,700, right? So if I put this to 3,700 exactly, that would be allowed. Okay. But many, or mine, you're not allowed to change that. Okay. So we have to correct the flight, the correct altitude manually with the autopilot. So that means 3,000 feet. Okay. Good. Descent point coming up, that's good. Right, let's get the values here. Let me get the weather real quickly. Because the whole geometric calculation, Jurgen, so from the path, etc. So many is your first anchor point, if you like. Right, so that's the final approach fix. Right. So this, look at the triangle here, right? So if you change that, the whole geometry changes, right? So that's why it's not allowed. Yeah, it would. I mean, we can try. Let me try that. Let me see what happens. I'm not sure if the FSLabs does it correctly. So just for demonstration purposes, let me change that to 3,000, right? So let's see if the angle, look at the flight path angle here. Let's see if that changes. Yeah, hang on. Oh, it didn't take it. What? Hang on, let me try that one. Hang on, let me just, hang on. Insert. So still 3.1. Yeah, so... Oh, was that speed 3,000? No, altitude 3,000. Yeah, so... Yeah, it doesn't change the angle there. Oh, I put a speed constraint, sorry, yeah. Yeah, my bad. Okay, but you can see that... yeah. Right, it doesn't change the descent angle, so you can see from the geometry point of view... it's going to mess up the profile, right? So we've got 2,700 back again. Fantastic. Yeah, Bruno, so that was my question. So the question was, is it just a simple nav data printout? Because the database, like it says, or is it actually calculating geometrically that path from the final descent point to the minimums or the runway, right? So, but I think it's just simple printout. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's interesting to find out. Good. So, minimums now. Again, non-standard minimum. We're going to put 600 feet. Okay. I know. It's not realistic, but I just want to see what happens. Okay. As we descend down. So let me get the latest weather. 1953, fantastic. 0808, gust 14, 10 miles, scattered 2,700. So we will see the runway. Okay. So there's no danger in that. -8 still and 2934. Good God. That is a low pressure. 2934. -8. Okay, Jurgen, okay, take your point. True, it's not that low. We're going to use the config full as well for the steeper path. Transition level 190 looks good. So we'll take that and then we'll do the calculations. Hang on, what does it mean? 31 to 1? Hang on. Is it a scale or something? Where are you seeing that? Oh, this. Oh, okay. Found it. Yeah. 34 to 1 is not clear. I have no idea. I mean, it's referred to a scale somewhere. But I've never seen that. Tango Kilo, in case my throw would give 3. Oh, no. Careful. Tango Kilo. We always talking about the height. So, so when you calculate or when you correct these heights, right? We are always correcting the height above the ground, okay? Only this part. So you can see that, you know, 10% here in absolute feet terms is a lot more than 10% at 200 feet. Right. So to give you the example, minus 30, that's minus 45 degrees delta, right? That's going to be about, what, 18, almost 20% difference. So here, at 2,700 feet, that's 500 feet difference. That is a lot. Sure, at 200 feet, it's only 40. But still, I mean, if you talk about minimums, 40 feet can make a difference. Right, somebody's above us and overtaking us, it seems. Yeah, but Tango Kilo, oh, beautiful Condor. But Tango Kilo, think of it this way: if you look at your obstacle clearances that you have, I mean, it's not always the case, but I mean, technically speaking, when they construct these approaches, So let's say you have an antenna here. Oh, that's not antenna. I was going to draw a mountain and then I said antenna, but my brain wasn't fast enough to adapt. So let's try again. So you have an antenna here, right? Good. Here's an antenna. So in the approach, so the whole construction of the approach has to be such that you have certain minimum clearance altitudes above, or heights above those obstacles, right? Yeah, so that, to give you a value, if I remember correctly, there are some approaches where it's like 74 feet or something, or maybe even less, but I can't remember that value. So if you're talking about, you know, 30 feet difference because of cold temperature, that is big. That is a big difference in you know, in relative terms. Buildings don't shrink in this cold. Yeah, exactly, right. Exactly that. Exactly. So if you're flying it fully managed, so with VNAV descent profile, then the altitude limitation will give you, will assure that your minimum obstacle clearance altitudes will not be infringed. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, always, Jurgen. So Cat 2, Cat 3 for us is always radio altimeter. So the only reason, really, why for Category 1 approaches, ILS approaches, are using an MDA more often. I mean, there are, of course, there are companies that will still use decision height for Cat 1, maybe, but usually you have a minimum because, you know, the terrain very close to the runway is clear, right? So there's the airport perimeter, there's the airport area prior to the runway where you have antennas, etc. So that is really flat. So your radial altimeter readouts will be fairly accurate if you're close to the runway. So there you can use the radial altimeter. It will not jump very much, right? However, if you're 200 feet out, or let's say the minimum is 300 feet, that means you are 1 mile away from the runway, and that's outside of the airport usually, which means you could have very undulating terrain there, right? So then imagine if you try to do a minimum according to radial altimeter, you're not going to have a nice steady minimum. So you're going to have different positions where potentially aircraft will do a go around. Exactly, ILS approach, or even an approach that has some other means of a guidance signal from the runway. Yeah, then of course you have a kind of a physical beam that's not distorted by cold temperature. Now the only thing that happens, so if you're flying, let's say you're flying uncorrected in these cold temperatures onto a glide slope, so normal ILS glide slope, what will happen, you'll notice you can intercept the glide slope later. So the distance from the threshold will be less. And you can see that many, many times if you fly ILS approach in cold temperatures. Right, let's start our descent. Let's descend level 200 initially. Descent out blue 200. CTAF 18.7, correct. Let's just check the altitudes here. Where are we? The lowest. Yeah, we can already go down. Let's say corrected to 9,000 feet here. 9,000 feet. Oh, hang on, Reynolds. Oh, that's Reynolds. That's interesting, I would say, and very brave. Okay, I'll descend down level 100 now already. So let's go down 100. Beautiful cloud layer here. And as always, now that we're in descent, idle, or the power going more towards idle power, icing then becomes a risk, even if the temperature is lower than minus 40 degrees Celsius, so SAT. So in the descent, we would actually switch on the engine anti-ice. I'll do that now, so don't forget when I'm heads down here. Oh, it's a STOL aircraft. Nice. Okay, well, we're interested to see you and watch you fly, Brynald. Have you tried 2024 SU4? Is it working? So it's not snowing at the moment, but I'm going to calculate with wet runway anyways. It doesn't give me contamination, but wet runway is a good. All right. So let's say apply METAR, and then landing weight. Let's have a look. Landing weight about 64.5. Let's say 64.5. Right at max landing weight. So medium auto brake. We have available 2,007 meters. We're going to need about 2,000. So auto brake medium, flap config full. Now 1,600, 1,850 meters.
Today is my new PC day. I'll do my first flight in the next.
Hey Alex.
I hope life is going absolutely fantastic.
Ah, nice, Alex. Thank you so much. First of all, 35 months, and you're writing your new PC day. Nice. What did you get? What did you get? And you're going to be in a group flight. Nice. Looking forward to seeing you, Alex. Life is good, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely fine. Enjoying the pre-Christmas period, yeah. And Reynolds, everything works perfectly. Nice. Good. Jacob, yeah, like Bruno just wrote. Bruno, thank you for the answer, yeah. And also, Jacob, so it makes absolutely no sense for you as a pilot to ask the controller what the minimums are. The controller doesn't know your minimums, right? Like Bruno says, you know, there's different aircraft, different certifications. You have to know your limits for your aircraft type regarding, you know, RVR limits and descent limits. Okay, Bruno, thank you much. Ryzen 98X3D, nice, that's a good one, and a 5070 Ti. Wow. Yeah, you have a more powerful system than I have now. GG's, yeah, enjoy it, Alex. Just waiting for Mark to get his new PC now. Well, he knows what's coming. Once he has his new PC, he knows what's coming. Okay, Bruno, thank you much. 3.07999. Okay. Thank you, Bruno. Ooh, we're getting closer to... Where am I? Here I am. And I can see a bit of terrain below me there. Nice. Cool. So Automatic medium, we said. We have selected everything in the MFS, although MCU, I should say. Let's do something else here. Oh yeah, with the RAM prices. Yeah, you're right. It's always something, isn't it? I mean, even the GPUs aren't cheap, are they? They've not really gotten cheaper. So, yeah, so that was confirmed. And regarding the NAV database, NAV 8s, let's check NAV 8s. Yeah, we'll use Sierra Romeo as a reference, and then yeah, that's all we need. Cool, good. Okay, so briefing as just described. Sector altitude 8,400 feet, very high terrain. That's obviously the threat today. Interesting approach, offset approach, and high terrain. 3,700, 3,000 feet, corrected, 3.3 degree down, corrected, minimum 600 feet, non-standard. And the missed approach, coded, Molre, left turn, Mugs. And then, let's see, and then 281 to chill to hold, and climb 9,000 feet. Beautiful. Start some of it. Juneau traffic, Alaska 711, about 40 miles from the field. We're planning to fly the RMP 08 in Juneau. Already passing transition, and that's going to be
Juneau traffic, 1 for Tango on the RNF 08 for Juneau, 35 miles south of the VOR.
So you saw just now when I corrected the pressure change, so the pressure difference between standard atmosphere and the actual pressure at Juneau, the path had to be recalculated, right? Because the altimeter got us to a lower altitude, and so now it has to recapture that optimal path again. Good. So now that we've set the altimeter, we can read the checklist. So approach checklist, Barrow ref 29.34. Seatbelts, seatbelts and lights on. Seatbelts on. Minimum baro 600 feet. Auto brake medium. Engine mode selector is normal. That's the approach check is complete. Flow Pro Avimar. Now, people saying I understand that. People saying
Juneau traffic,
it doesn't really have a use for them. For me, I just got so used to using this in Microsoft 2020. You know, being able to map those buttons the way I like, and then just quickly have that wheel come up and then you know, quickly change things. And I know it doesn't really do much difference or much other things than what you have here. But like I said, I've just got used to this. I just like it. So. Let me change my speed here at SSR. Let me make that to 10 knots. Oh. Dang it. So let's do speed constraint to 10. Insert. Yes, me too. I'm missing chase plane as well. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Brennelt, it's out. You can get it for 2024. There's one thing though, Brendan. Where did you buy the Flow Pro app? Which marketplace? Directly at Oh yeah, so gorgeous. Okay, Brennelt. You have to, in order to be able to download it through through Parallel 42. There's a certain process. They just describe that in the info letter. Yeah, you have to migrate that, right? Exactly, because they don't have it on Orbix anymore for 2024. And there's a procedure how to do it. It's not too complicated, and it was, for me, it was like 3 hours, and they did that. So good. Let's go down to. Let's just check terrain. Yeah, let's go down to 6,000 initially. 6,000. Yeah, it can take longer. Yeah, that's true. It can take longer than that. But for me, you know, from experience, it took them 3 hours. Here we go, thrust idle. Slowing down. Ooh, there's a plane really close to me.
Juneau traffic, Qantas 1 for Tango, turning right direct to Nimle in Juneau.
That was beautiful. Okay. Okay, let's copy it. The Alaska 711 is reducing speed to 10 now. Yeah, so he's a little bit to the right of me, below. Maybe he's in clouds. I can't see him. Yeah, that's true. It still costs a little bit of an update fee. Yeah, but was it $5 or something? So it's not crazy expensive. Get some speed brakes out. Yeah, let's get some speed brakes out. So let's do that. Now the VDEF bar has just come up, and that shows me that the approach phase is now active. Oh, a bit heavy, so I'm going to do 214 knots. Speed brakes back in. Correct, yeah. Good point, yeah. So if you have decreased the gain, you should now put it back to calibrated. Oh, only $2? Same edition, Essential Pro. Okay, nice. Okay, even cheaper than that. The Meat, hello to you. where can they leave the runway? Let me just check that real quickly. Yeah, that's not a problem. They don't have to backtrack, so they can vacate the runway quickly. So that's fine. Cool. What's missing here? Oh, the wind. 1080 at 888. That's why it's complaining. Perfect. Alrighty. Cool. And I didn't really want to have the LDEF bar there, but I'm going to change that now. Here comes flaps. Let's go down 3,700. Now, and here comes flaps. Oh, nope. Speeding up again. Speed brakes out. Get some drag out. Help me slow down. Flaps 1, speed checked. Flaps 1. Hey, Hilo Shalom. Oh, Jacob, you say negative. Check speed. That's what I would say.
Juneau traffic, Qantas 1 for Tango, turning final 15 miles in Juneau.
The cabin.
Hi, Captain. The cabin is now secure for landing.
Thank you. Really struggling to get the speed down. Let me just get the autopilot off real quickly. Get full speed brakes. That helps with the deceleration. Look at the beautiful scenery. Love it. Absolutely amazing. Flaps 2, speed check. Flaps 2, speed brakes, and autopilot. So next limit is going to be 3,700 and then 2,700 for the final descent. Hello, you like it? Thank you. The Krashu, welcome back. The thing is that the overlay doesn't really work at the moment with the X-plane because of XP UIPC. It doesn't like it. What you mean, X-plane? Senior looks like X-plane? Really? Hang on. What you mean? Nah. It does not. Yeah, Alaska's very pretty. I agree. Good. Now, we're not going to bust the 3,700. I'm going to dial down 2,000. Sorry, not 2,000, but I'm going to dial in 3,000 now. Remember that we want to be 300 feet higher. Cold temperature correction, right? And then, as I said before, we're going to check 2 altitudes later on. Right? So when we cross 2,000 feet... Well, actually, let's check 2,000. Our altimeter should reach 2,150, okay? And then we'll know that Microsoft actually does have those cold temperature simulations. Juneau traffic, Alaska 711 is Ogame, turning towards final. Current speed is 165 knots.
Juneau traffic, Qantas 1 for Tango, 4 mile final 08 in Juneau.
I'm going to take this with vertical speed here. I do want to descend. So again, nav mode and flight path angle. So I'm going to switch to flight path angle right now. Flight directors are going off. Yeah, great visibility already. It's fantastic. Look at that. So beautiful. Alt star. So once I'm in alt, I'm going to dial in the missed approach altitude of 9,000 feet. Oops. Uh, 18.7. That's the CTAF frequency to my understanding. At least that says on the chart. Good. Alt, 9,000 coming. And then, now normally a rule of thumb would be 0.3 miles prior to descent point. You would start dialing down the flight path angle. The autopilot has a bit of a lag before the 3 degrees or whatever you do, minus 3.3 degrees down is actually on the aircraft. But experience shows that the autopilot is actually not that slow. So I've pre-dialed minus 3.3 degrees. And now we're just waiting for about 0.2 miles. I can see the airport ahead. So you can already see the huge offset. And down we go. So minus 3.3 degrees. Again, it's a corrected flight path angle. Oh, that was 3,000 knots. Lol, yeah. Forget it. Unable. So let's configure the aircraft. Gear down. The cool thing is, with the flight path angle mode.
Juneau traffic, 121 for Tango, clear runway 08 in Juneau.
If you slow down, if you used vertical speed and you slow down so your ground speed got less, you would have to adjust manually your vertical speed with the autopilot. However, with the flight path angle, the flight management guidance system will, flaps full, speed check, flaps full, will actually do that for you. So that's very convenient. Right, remember guys, look at this, 2,000 feet. Maybe there's some terrain below us. Let me just wait a second. No, it's just water below us. So we're going to have a look. That's 250 feet difference. So our altimeter in standard conditions, in 15 degrees Celsius conditions, would now show the same as the radio altimeter. Unless the pressure has changed by a lot, which I don't think. Right, manual flight, manual thrust. Hey bits, yeah, exactly. Right, manual flight. So I'm totally ignoring the VDEF bar. I have to assume that's wrong. So I have one white, one red. Let's continue down here. It's windy. 23 knots crosswind at the moment. Landing checklist. EK or landing no blue. Landing checklist complete. Juneau traffic. Alaska 711 is currently 3 miles. Runway 08 in Juneau. That's really... Have my settings been reset to... realistic
now turning final for the 08.
Realistic turbulence settings. It feels like it. You see these antennas here? Definitely a reason continue to have a very high minimum, so that it can visually. Oh, careful speed. Blimey. Great scenery. Right, let's continue down. Come on. Speed. Oh god, you guys.
100.
Oh my god.
50, 40, 30, 20, retard.
Oh! Floaty. No! Spoilers! There's a green diesel. Manual brakes. Water brake is off. Blimey, that scared the hell out of me. What did the landing rate say? Did it give a landing rate? And Juneau traffic landing rate. The landing runway is located in Juneau. 160.
Juneau traffic, Alaska 6937 miles final runway.
But that's exactly what I mean, right? I had to really do a very hard brake because it was kind of coming down at the end quite steeply. And then I floated for a very long time. And then the vertical speed indication had time to adjust. Right, come on, MAN. Let's see you do this. Yeah, pro pilot. Firm landing, but I think he's flying a 321, so GG's. The scenery looks very nice. I agree. Yeah. I agree. So let's do the after start flows.
Ladies and gentlemen, the cabin crew will shortly be leaving their seats to perform safety-related duties.
And then
However, we ask that
strobes
you
off.
remain seated until the fasten seatbelt sign has been switched off. Portable electronic devices.
That's a reason why you know maybe an overhead panel, a physical overhead panel, is a good idea.
Please make sure you take all your personal belongings with you, checking in the seat pocket, underneath the seat, and in the overhead locker.
Oh, I thought that was MAN.
Do take care
Oh, okay.
of the overhead lockers.
Alpha.
Items may have
That was you then.
during flight. Smoking is not permitted until you reach a designated
TCAS
smoking
off.
area. On behalf of the captain
Terrain
and the crew,
off.
it has
Radar
been a
off.
pleasure looking after you today.
And Juneau traffic, Alaska 6993.
There he is.
2.5 mile final runway.
Oh, he landed Osaka. Well, I got so confused. Who's flying along? Who was the one in the Condor then? Hey Lilienthal, wie geht's? Nice to see you. Right, let me see. Parking spot. That one is available. Oh, we can choose the parking spot through the map, right? Select from map. Now it should show us the aircraft that are there. Traffic. There we go, look at that. So we can choose this one. Select. That's really cool. That's a huge improvement. Huge quality life improvement there. Selection from map. Stormyfly, you bought the mini overhead from the guys at Mini. Yeah. Is it good? Are you happy with it? Steep turn. There we go. After landing checklist, radar PWS is off. After landing checklist complete. I'm just wondering, the reason why my hardware isn't working properly is maybe because I've got too many of these peripherals in one USB hub. I mean, it is electrically powered, but still I have a feeling that it just doesn't like it. So let's see, MAN, how far are you from the field? There you go, parking brake is set.
Juneau traffic, Alaska 693, runway 08, okay.
No! No, MAN, I'm sorry, I missed your landing. Oh no, I didn't realize you're that close. Sorry. Oh, maybe next time. Good.
Cabin crew disarmed.
Yes, please. So let's wait for the... Get the beacon off though. Beacon off. Lights off. Let's see if that's off. But MAN, you can now say you've buttered it, right?
Cabin crew disarmed doors.
Ah, beautiful. There he is, taxiing in. Great, everyone that flew along today, thank you so much. It's quite busy for such a small airport. Okay, Nanak, thank you so much. Minus 428? Oh, don't worry about it. Well, you can always use my excuse, MAN, right? You did a late break. You touched down smoothly, but the vertical speed indication took its time to adjust, right? I mean, it's a valid excuse as well. Just saying. It was a... Man, that woke me up for sure, yeah. Thank you so much, Delta Tango. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, my brain today is not the best, in the best state. So I hope, though, it made some sense having that cold temperature correction explained. And I'm not sure. So on my Discord, you will have the link to this. I pinned a link on the Pilot's Lounge. To this calculator, and again, this is not for real world flying, okay? This is just for flight simming. But a fantastic tool. And we just saw on the approach, we did see that instead of 2,000 feet, the altimeter was indicating 2,000, almost 2,300 feet. So a 250 feet error on the indication there. Florian, okay. Yeah, thanks, Florian. You were the Condor. Okay, Florian, thanks for flying along. Avenger, the thing is, it's so it's day 2, and day 2 is always tough, right? So your body hasn't completely switched over to these ketogen digestion, so it's kind of lacking nutrients, right? Lacking especially sugar, carbohydrates, and it just takes a time. So usually day 3 for me, day 3 will get better. So hopefully we'll do. Thank you so much, MAN, as well. Once again, big thank you for the shout out for 10 gifted subs from MAN today. Thank you very much again, and thank you for all the resubs. It means a lot to me. Big support. Thank you so much for that. And stay tuned. In about 10-15 minutes, we're going to go on our last trip around the Alps tour. So there's only a couple of more flights to do. If you want to join, feel free. We're going to be on the European West server, Microsoft 2024, however. And make sure that you have certain settings set. Brennelt explained that in the briefing on Discord. Yeah. Right now, I've not noticed anything major wrong with SU4. So I've installed the stable version prior to the stream. The only thing I'm noticing is that my hardware from Winwing is not 100% working. I mean, it's physically working. It's moving the controls or gear and flaps, etc., but it's not indicating the numbers correctly. Yeah, SU4 is out. Yeah. Exactly. Nice. Exactly. Alex, no worries. No worries. Okay. Guys, see you soon. Oh yeah, and if you're not interested in GA flying, my next stream with airliners will be on Wednesday, in 2 days from now. Looking forward to it. And you have no issues with the FSLabs with the... Okay, I have to try again. Maybe some different USB ports. We'll see. More testing to do. Thank you so much, everyone, once again. See you soon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting. Bye-bye.